यमुनातीरावनचारी यमुनातीरावनचारी जलमराधमाधव कुंज विहार राधमाधव कुंज विहारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा माधव राधे जय राधा राष्ट्री हरि राधा राष्ट्री हरि राधे जय गौरंगी बेंगलोरेश्वर गौरंगी बेंगलोरेश्वर गौरंगी जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा जय सुदर्शन जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय अनंत देव प्रहलाद नरसिंह जय अनंत देव जय निताय चैतन्य जय निताय चैतन्य निताय चैतन्य जय निताय चैतन्य जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल हरिनाम संकीर्तन महायज्ञ की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजाचार्य स्तोत्र शतक His Divine Grace अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजाचार्य स्तोत्र शतक His Divine Grace भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नमाचार्य श्रद्धास ठाकुर की जय जय श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ छठ गोस्वामी प्रभुगण की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण चंद्र गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन गिरिराज महाराज की जय मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय मायापुर नवदीप धाम की जय श्री क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय गंगा माई की जय जमुना माई की जय कावेरी माई की जय भक्ति देवी की जय तुलसी महारानी की जय समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories and glories and glories and glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतं सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुलङ्गायतिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदिनतारिणं परमानन्दं माधवम् Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. So we're going to read from Srimad Bhagavatam this morning, and the discussion will spring around two very important verses, which is third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 30th chapter, text number 26 to 28. Rather, three shlokas we're going to take today. Just allow me a couple of minutes to sorry, it's taking a little longer to open the file. Just give me 1 minute more, please. Ivatas chaturgatharham swagranthe yama sadhane sarpa vichika dhamma sadre dasa vidhas chatam vaishvam jivastachatra pratyare swagranthe yama sadhane sarpa vichika dhamma sadre dasa vidhas Chatma Vaishvam Jivastas Chatrabhatyaram Swakrandher Yama Sadhanai Sarpavichika Dhamma Sadaiv Dasa Vidasa Chatam Vaishvam Vaisasam. Word to word translation. Jivataha, alive. Cha, and Antra, of his entrails. Apyudhara, pulling out. Swaghradre, by dogs and vultures. Yamasadhane, in the abode of Yamaraja. Sarpa, by serpents. Vischika, scorpions. Dhamsa, gnats. Adhyay, and so on. Dasa, to be biting. Cha, and Atma Vaisasam, torment of himself. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. His entrails are pulled out by the hounds and vultures of hell, even though he is still alive to see it, and he is subjected to torment by serpents, scorpions, gnats, and other creatures that bite him. We'll also take the following verses, 27 and 28 as well. Sorry, I think the internet connectivity is a little slow. You'll have to bear with me. I'm just trying to open the page. 27 is open. So we'll straight go into word-to-word translation and translation. Krintanam, cutting off. Cha, and. Avyasva, limb by limb. Gajabidyam, by elephants, and so on. Vidapanam, tearing. Patanam, hurling down. Giri, of hills. Sringebhya, from the tops. Rodhanam, enclosing. Cha, and. Ambu, gatayo, in the water or in a cave. Next, the limbs are looped off and torn asunder by elephants. He is hurled down from hilltops, and he is also held captive either in water or in cave. Let's take the 28th verse. Ya, which Tamisra, the name of hell, and the Tamisra, the name of the hell, Raurava, the name of the hell, Adya, and so on, Cha, and Yatana, punishments, Bhungte, undergoes, Nara, man, Va, or Nari, woman, Va, or Mitha, mutual, Sangena, by association, Nirmiti, cost. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Men and women whose lives were built upon indulge in illicit sex life are put into many kinds of miserable conditions in hell, known as Tamisra, Andhatamisra, and Raurava. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Materialistic life is based on sex life. The existence of all material people who are undergoing severe tribulation is in the struggle of existence. In the struggle for existence is based on sex. Therefore, in the Vedic civilization, sex life is allowed only in a restricted way. It is for the married couple that only for begetting children. But when sex life is indulged in for sense gratification, illegally and illicitly, both the men and women await severe punishment in the world or after death. In this world also, they are punished by virulent diseases like syphilis and gonorrhea. And in the next life, as we see in this passage of Srimad Bhagavatam, they are put into different kinds of hellish conditions to suffer. In Bhagavad Gita, first chapter, illicit sex life is also very much condemned. And it is said that one who produces children by illicit sex life is sent to hell. It is confirmed here in the Bhagavatam that such offenders are put into hellish conditions of life in Tamisra, Andhatamisra, and Raurava. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport to Canto 3 of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 30th, text number 26, 27, and 28. Om Tat Sat. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we welcome you to this morning discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam. And here we've seen that those who are offenders or who commit sins are put into hellish conditions and they have to suffer for whatever activities that they have done. And these activities that have also been described in the Shastras as what is good activity and what is not the good activity or what is not prescribed in the Shastras. So our activities have to be as per the Shastric injunction and not anything beyond. Not just because I feel this is good for me, I should do it, or because I have this understanding, I do it. Every understanding has to go with the Shastric evidences and the confirmation from the Shastras, which is very, very important for us. And the whole conversation about this chapter, in this chapter, is talking about Lord Kapila is giving the descriptions. In the previous chapter, the 29th chapter, Lord Kapila was giving the description of how the devotional service has to be, how activities have to be carried on by devotees. And Mother Devahuti is asking at length here, Mother Devahuti is asking Kapila Muni, and he is explaining at length, which is very important for us. So just to give you a little background, Kardam Muni was married to Mother Devahuti. Rather, Manu, father of Devahuti, came down to meet Kardam Muni, and he requested that you are the most qualified, person to get married to my daughter, who's Devahuti. And Devahuti also, they're not very ordinary person. They are absolutely, realized souls. And this realized souls know how to execute the orders of the Lord. Yeah. So Devahuti marries Kardam Muni, and Kardam Muni then continues his activities of devotional service in the forest. Mother Devahuti was basically from a very, very opulent family. She is the daughter of, she was the princess, she was the daughter of the king, King Manu. And despite having so many, dasis to serve her, everything was taken care of her well. She decided to get married to Kardam Muni because he was the right bride. They were the right bride and the groom. They were the right couple for each other. Now, the understanding here, one needs to look at as to whatever our parents do. This is given in the Shastras and it is elucidated here. It is shown here that whatever our parents do are in the best interest of the children. So Father Manu also wanted his daughter to get married to Kardam Muni because Kardam Muni was basically a very great devotee of the Lord. Yeah, so just coming back to the point saying, whatever our parents do is for the best interest of the children. Parents will never want anything to go wrong for their children, and especially in this Kali Yuga, where it is not so easy for us to have the children growing up and getting married into the right family. In between itself, when we have so many years, they get carried away into certain other wrong directions. So the example here, or the activities of the Lord here shows that a wife has to be very, very faithful to the husband. And Devahuti, being even from a very royal family, did not care for her personal well-being or personal bodily comforts. She stayed in the ashram of Kardam Muni, cleaned up the whole place, made preparations for the yajnas, made preparations for the devotional service of Kardam Muni, and carried on for a very long time. And at a certain point of time, she realizes, or she feels, that she wants to have the family, because it's very natural for a woman, for a lady, to look at the family way of life. So she requests Kardam Muni, and Kardam Muni says, yes, we will have children, but only condition is that once I have a son, I will leave this family life and proceed towards the forest to continue my further journey into the spiritual life. So this is the condition that they have had. And then Kapila Muni was born. And when he was born, as informed earlier or as discussed earlier, Kardam Muni leaves the family life and he moves on to the forest to continue his devotional service, to continue his spiritual life. And when the father goes into the forest, the child is taken care by the mother. Mother Devhuti brings up the child very nicely and he grows up to be a very qualified Vaishnava. And from this Vaishnava, Mother Devahuti herself is taking instructions. Even in the earlier sessions, we've discussed about the saying, the apprehension that how can I take instructions from my son? How can I take instructions from somebody who's younger to me? How can I take instructions from somebody who has just grown in front of me or who has played in my lap should not be considered. The only consideration that one should look at is the spiritual knowledge of that individual. So here the spiritual knowledge of Kapila Muni was much, much higher than Mother Devahuti. And again, this is the Leela of the Lord, and the Lord wants us to learn from every Leela that he has. So Mother Devahuti is taking instructions from Kapila Muni, and Kapila Muni is giving the right direction to Mother, not thinking that, she's attached to me, she's my mother. No, that bodily platform, understanding of them is not at all there. They are much beyond, much above the bodily conception of life, and it is the Guru and the Shishya, which is what is the whole conversation around. Mother Devahuti has asked these questions very submissively. If you look at the inquiries that are done by Mother Devahuti, every question that she is asking is very, very submissively, as if, not as if, it is actually her Guru. She considers Kapila Muni as a very qualified person, and that is how she is taking instructions. So it's a very clear indication to us saying that whenever we approach a saintly person, we have to submissively pose our questions and understand and surrender unto him and have complete faith in him. So here, Mother Devahuti is having complete faith in the words of Kapila Muni, and she's going on asking questions very, very submissively. On the other side, the qualities of Guru can be seen in Kapila Muni. He's giving the right answer. He's giving the apt answer for every question that is posed by Mother Devahuti, and he gives it at length. And when we say at length, the complete description is given by Mother Devahuti, by Kapila Muni to Mother Devahuti. And he again gives this as the basis from the Shastras. It is not that I feel, so I'm speaking. I have heard, so I'm speaking. I have seen, so I'm speaking. No. Yes. We have to speak only something which is available in the Shastras, which is given to us in the Shastras and not otherwise. So here, Mother Devahuti is surrendering unto Kapila Muni and taking instructions. On the contrary, Kapila Muni is giving the right answer for every questions that would be posed by Mother Devahuti. And in the previous chapter that we see, the previous chapter was titled the previous chapter 29 was titled as Explanation of Devotional Service by Lord Kapila. And in every shloka that you see from text 1 to 2 in the 29th chapter, we say Devahuti inquired. Yeah, when we say inquired, it is a submissive question which is asked. Yeah, it doesn't say raised a query. No, it is inquired. So she's inquiring, and then she's having a lot of areas where she is concerned. And then the answers are also given by Kapila. And Kapila Muni, who's Kapila Muni? Kapila is the personality of Godhead. Yeah. And he also replies to Mother Devahuti in a very, very respectable manner. In one of the shloka number 7, if we take, Kapila Muni replies to her as, "Oh, noble lady." Yeah. He's also respecting his mother. It's not just because you've taken my shelter or you're submissively asking questions, I can, kind of take you for granted. No. He's very nicely, replying, saying, "Oh, noble lady," the quality of the mother. Yeah. And likewise, the question answers continue, and we've seen the whole chapter of 29, which goes on. We have about 45 shlokas into that. And he gives the complete description of how a devotional service is to be done, how he gives the complete explanation of the devotional service. And in this chapter that we are currently reading, we've already completed 25 verses yesterday, and we had Radharanjan Prabhu who spoke about this subject yesterday. This chapter is all talking about the adverse fruitive activities. So when you are looking at bhakti and bhukti, we sometimes, because we are having the tinge of Maya, Maya is all over us. We think that, yes, I should do devotional service because I have this realization. I read the Shastras, I get association of the devotees. And, I chant my rounds. And so I practice a little bit of devotional service. And then what happens is, because you see so many things outside, you also feel I should also enjoy the material world. So that is called bhukti, a little bhakti and little bhukti. Bhakti and bhukti are two things which cannot go on the same track. If bhakti is taking you forward, bhukti will actually take you backwards. So you cannot actually run on the same track. Both bhakti and bhukti cannot ever run on a same track. So it's very important for devotees. It is important for everybody that they should not really go for bhukti. Bhukti is the material sense enjoyment. Now in this chapter, Kapila Muni is explaining as to how the material engagement or engagement, a devotee gets or a soul gets into that material engagement, and how he struggles, and how is he always in anxiety, and how is he always fooled by such activities which are mischievous. And it is like a mirage. You always feel that, if I do this little extra, I will be happy. If I do this little extra, I will be satisfied. But in a state where you go into the desert, where you are seeing water at a little distance, but as you reach that distance, you realize that there is absolutely no water at all there. It's only sand and sand and sand, nothing beyond it. Material life, Maya is also like that. You always want to do something extra to feel that, I will be satisfied, I will be happy, but it takes you more distance. By the time, so a simple example is, in the material world, we feel that, if I have a two-wheeler, it will be easier, I will be happy, I will be able to go to my workplace, I will be able to go out to, places very easily, right? So you work very hard to buy a two-wheeler. When you buy a two-wheeler and when you get a two-wheeler, yes, initially there is some kind of a subtle satisfaction, a short-lived subtle satisfaction. But as you use it for a few days, then you start feeling, when I have a two-wheeler, when it rains, it is a problem. I can't ride my two-wheeler. Or it is very hot or a very sunny day, I can't ride a two-wheeler. Or if it is very cold, I can't ride a two-wheeler because the chill air actually hits you. Then you decide saying that, no, this is not satisfaction. So look at it. Before buying the two-wheeler, you were always thinking that if I buy a two-wheeler, I will be happy. But this happiness, which is temporary, which came to you and has again given you dissatisfaction in form of feeling that it's either cold or hot or rainy and I can't ride a two-wheeler. So then you decide that, if I had a car, it would be much easier. I can go out in rain, I can go out in cold, I can go out in sunlight, all of that. And then you work very hard, thinking that if I accumulate so much of money and buy a four-wheeler, then I will be happy and I will be satisfied. But it doesn't really happen. Yes, you end up buying a car after working hard for so many days, so many hours every day, and so many years. Then finally you accumulate so much of money to buy a four-wheeler. And once you buy the four-wheeler, once you start using the four-wheeler, it gives you the satisfaction or happiness, which is short-lived again. And then after a few days, you start realizing that this happiness or satisfaction is also short-lived. Then you start feeling that, I think, my car does not have an AC, so it becomes very warm, very hot when I'm driving. I have to keep my windows open, and when I have to keep my windows open, a lot of dust comes in and a lot of pollution comes in. Added to it, you have no parking space. So if you want to take the car to a market space, you'll have to park it 3-4 kilometers away and walk down to the marketplace. Or many times, this is one of our very senior devotees, Maharaj gave this example saying, you want to buy a small packet of milk, which is costing you 20 or 30 rupees. But when you take the car, the petrol that is used in the car is more expensive than the milk itself. So it is also dissatisfaction, or it is also pain that you feel that you don't get parking space. You spend a lot of money, a lot of your earning goes into spending on the maintenance of the car or on the fuel of the car. So again, there is dissatisfaction. On top of it, you don't get parking anywhere. So if you see, when you had a two-wheeler, when you had the desire to buy a two-wheeler, you thought that the two-wheeler will give you satisfaction, but it give you a very short satisfaction, which is not permanent, very short-lived. And then you decide to buy a four-wheeler, you put in so much of efforts, and then again buy a four-wheeler. And when you buy a four-wheeler, you're not able to get that satisfaction you really wanted, because every time you did something, you thought you'll be satisfied, but then it gives you dissatisfaction. This material world is dukhalayam ashashvatam. Yeah? We all take it as sukhalayam shashvatam. It is not. It is dukhalayam ashashvatam, and a miserable place. So one should not really hanker behind dissatisfaction or living permanently in this material life, because here also there is no permanency. You live for 70 years, 80 years these days, not beyond that. Even if you live 100 years, your body will not support you in doing anything. So there's no point in living such a life where you have to be dependent, or you have to be bed dependent, or you have to be cot dependent, or you have to be wheelchair dependent, or family dependent, where families are also now shrinking. We have small units of families which are coming up, and nobody is interested in taking care of the other member of the family. So there's no point in somebody thinking that I will be happy in this material world, my family will take care of me. No, it is not possible. So in the previous verses, Kapila Muni is giving these details of the attached householder. Yeah. Sometimes you have to please your son, sometimes you have to please your daughter, sometimes you have to please your parents, you have to please your in-laws, sometimes you have to please your wife or your husband. And he's always spending miserable time. And he's controlled by acts of sense gratification. He acts just to counteract the reactions of all his miseries. And if he can, we always think that absence of unhappiness is happiness, which is not correct. Yeah? Absence of miseries is happiness. No, that's absolutely wrong. So we're just trying every time to counteract this miserable condition or unhappiness in our life so that we are happy. And then in the material world, the person really puts in so much of efforts to secure the money, to earn the money by committing violence here, there. Though he's employing all that money that he gets for the welfare of the family, nobody is really ready to accept the karmas. There's a very nice, beautiful story which everybody needs to understand, that there was a dacoit. And this dacoit would go out and murder everybody in the forest and loot all the belongings that they would have, all the precious things that they would have, their jewelry, their money, and all of that. And Narad Muni meets this dacoit sometime and says, why are you doing this? Why are you killing people? So he says, I'm doing this just for taking care of my family. This is very common phenomena that we see even today. The head of the family always thinks that I have a responsibility to take care of my children. I have a responsibility to take care of my parents. I have a responsibility to take care of my spouse, which is absolutely right. Even Shastra says that you have to take care of your spouse, your children. You have to make your children Krishna conscious. You have to make your wife or husband Krishna conscious. And that's the responsibility of an individual. So Narad Muni says, yes, so by committing murders and looting people and taking away their wealth, you're committing karma. So he says, yes, I agree with you that I commit karma. But then who's going to take all this karma? So he says, I do it for my family. So I'm sure it is my family which takes the karma. So Narad Muni says, why don't you go back to your family and ask them, saying that if karma has to be suffered for whatever your acts, are they a part of it? Are they going to take some percentage of it? Say, for example, if you commit a murder, and the karma is 100 kgs of weight, will they bear 2 kgs, 5 kgs, 10 kgs, 25 kgs, certain portion of it? The dacoit goes back home that day and then, talks to his family saying that I have been taking care of all of you. I have been, getting all the money to ensure that we fulfill your requirements of your day-to-day activities, and we fulfill your requirements of uh, clothing, shelter, and food, and all of that. But for this, I'm suffering certain karma. So how many of you, or who of you are ready to accept my karma? So the children say, it's your responsibility, maintain us. Why should I take your karma? You're doing it, so you get the karma. Oh, so he gets a shock of his life. He goes to his wife and says, hey, look, you've been a part of my life, and you say 50% Ardangini. No, you're 50% of me. Whatever I do good things, you're getting 50% of my credit. But then whatever, activities that I do which are not so good, should you not suffer 50% of the karma? She says, no, it is your responsibility to maintain. Because when my father gave you in marriage, you had given him a commitment saying that you will take care of me well. You will ensure that my food, clothing, and shelter is taken care of, and that you have promised me in front of the Agni in the Vivah Samskar Yagna. So I'm here only to ensure that you give me whatever I want, and I will not take any of your karma. So he also again feels very sad about it. So he goes back to his parents and says, I've been taking care of you. You've not been keeping good health. So I take care of your medication. I take care of your food. I take care of your well-being. Will you take my karma? So the parents say that the day that you were born, our relationship has been enjoined. And from that time onwards, it becomes your responsibility to take care of your parents, because till certain age, we took care of you. And after that, you have to take care of. So we are not going to take any of your karmas. So this dacoit was perplexed, saying that, everybody wants to take the benefit of my good things. Everybody wants to take or want to enjoy all the earnings that I get, but nobody wants to take my karma. And he realizes that whatever I do, it is going to be my own accord. I am not going to be dependent on anybody. Nobody is going to take my karma away. Nobody can actually take your karma away except Guru, because he promises that he will take you back home, back to Godhead. So at the time of initiation, at the time of Diksha, the Guru takes over the karma of a disciple. And from that day onwards, it is said that the devotee becomes a dog of Guru. Yeah. So we can even interpret dog, D-O-G, devotee of God. He becomes a devotee of the God under the shelter of the Guru. And he's indebted to him because he takes his karma, all the karmas of that lifetime, the previous lifetime, then he ensures, he promises him that if you follow the path of bhakti, then I will take you back home, back to Godhead. And actually, the Guru pushes him. The Guru inspires him. The Guru actually the Guru ensures that the disciple follows all the regulative principles, chants his rounds very well, and then goes back home, back to Godhead. So it is very important that once we take shelter of a Guru, we should never do anything which is not in favor of our own self and Guru. We should never break the vows that we have taken in front of the fire, in the yagya that we do, the Vaishnava yagya that we do when the initiation is given. So as we move forward in this chapter, as we see the last 3 shlokas that we have discussed, that is, sorry, I have a bad throat. Yeah. So here it says that, when somebody does some wrong activities, in the previous shlokas, we have seen that, he's placed in midst of burning woods of fire, and his limbs are set on fire. Even if you imagine these things, you'll have goosebumps. Your hands will stand, your hairs will stand up on your body. And in some cases, he is made to eat his own flesh, or somebody else comes and eats his flesh. So as we move forward, the hound and the vultures of the hell actually, the entrails are pulled out. And this is all seen, or this is all experienced while he or she is alive. It's not that after death. And when a person is dead and they do a post-mortem, they cut him through, remove the intestine, remove some of his organs, all that, he doesn't feel because that person has left the body. Here, this person is still alive and he's actually seeing all of that. And then he's subjected to torment, by serpents, scorpions, gnats, and other creatures which bite him, which actually, and bite of scorpions and serpents. You can't even imagine. And in the next shloka, it is said that his limbs are looped off and torn asunder by elephants. If an elephant, there are two elephants which pull one leg on one side, another leg on another side, how you'll feel. And then that person is actually thrown down from the hilltops, and he is also held captive in the water. They put him in the water till the time that he's breathless and pull him out, and then he takes a little breath and feels, oh, it's great. Again, he's put into it. Or you're put into a dark cave where there is nothing available. So this description is very clearly given, saying that this is for people whose lives were built along illicit sex. This is the worst thing that can happen in spiritual life to anybody. This is the worst thing that can happen to anybody of having the illicit sex. And these are the results that actually come out of this. You're also sent into the hellish places like Tamisra and Andha Tamisra. Tamisra is a very, very bad place. Nobody can even live there. Andha Tamisra is, completely dark. You can't visualize what is happening. Think of, the power failure in your house for 15-20 minutes and you don't have a candle or you don't have a light or anything. And how do you feel when it is dark if you have to sit in that dark place for 10-15 minutes? But here you are made to sit in that Andha Tamisra for a very long time. And there is description of Raurava. That is also another, place which you can't even think of. So here Kapila Muni is giving these examples to Mother Devahuti, saying that what are the reactions that come out when these are adverse to fruitive activities. So one should be very, very careful in performing his activities and not look at performing any of the abominable activities for which he or she will be punished. You have no way. Sometimes we feel that, I have closed the door, so nobody is looking at me. But Upar wala sab kuch dekhta hai. The Lord sees everything and he has a record of everything. So one should not feel that I have closed my room, I have closed my cabin, I am sitting in a dark place so nobody can see me. The Lord has the complete detail. He has the Bahi Khata of what you're doing. And these details are so elaborate that you may not remember, but he'll remember all the things. So one needs to stay away from any kind of abominable activities like illicit sex. And that is why these 4 principles are given, on which the dharma is standing. So when we are initiated or when we take into the path of bhakti, we are said these 4 things one needs to very strictly avoid: illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, and illicit sex, intoxication, non-veg, including onion and garlic. So one should avoid. So if we avoid these 4 activities, then we are actually becoming human beings. Before that, we are not even human beings. So if we avoid these 4 activities and chant our confirmed rounds or, committed rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, that is the beginning of our spiritual life, and one needs to continue that. And this beginning does not mean that after some time you leave following this 4 regulative principles and stop chanting your japa. It is a lifelong activity that one needs to do. So we will end our conversation here on this particular subject, which is talking about if one goes through this 4 or one does this abominable activities like illicit sex, he is thrown into a very hellish kind of a condition and he has to suffer for all the bad things that he has done. Thank you very much for your patient hearing. And I apologize, I have a bad throat and I've not been able to give a clear voice to it. Thank you very much for your patient hearing. If you have any questions, we can take those questions, or if you have any doubts, we can clarify that. Or if you have a comment on whatever we have spoken today, I'll be happy to take it. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Danda Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dhanavad, Mataji.
Prabhu, one general question, Prabhu. Like in the preaching, we see many Matajis are naturally very motivated to hear the classes, lectures, to follow rules also, even Ekadashis, right? We are unable to somehow inspire their spouses. Because of that, over a period of time, there's so much of gap between the two, and gradually they somehow stop themselves from progressing like that. So what do we do in this case? How do we inspire both as a family together? Or sometimes they're scared of these rules also, that no onion, garlic, non-veg, tea, coffee, all that. To what extent can we practically convince them and all that, Prabhuji?
Thank you, Mataji. Very, very practical questions in the Kali Yuga, and especially when if both husband and wife, the spouse is not very favorable, sometimes, it is very important that if one is not able to follow certain things, for example, we've seen devotees now who are devotees, and earlier they were so addicted to tea, coffee, or smoking. In my own personal example, I have seen in my own personal life, I've seen devotees who were very addicted to it, and over a period of time, they were able to give up everything and join Krishna consciousness completely. And I would not want to name the devotees, but they are wonderful devotees now, preaching very well. And they've left tea, coffee, and smoking as well completely. How was it possible? It was possible by love. I have seen that, these devotees were given enough and more love. One of our very, very senior leader from our own Yatra used to give me this example, saying that I used to give him so much of association that he would forget going out and smoking. So he would keep this devotee in so much of association. He would take him along everywhere. He would engage him in so much of devotional service that he even forgot that he had to drink a cup of coffee or smoke. So initially, you can't put in your foot down saying that, just because I'm a devotee, you can't drink tea, coffee, or, if you are into a habit of smoking, you have to stop immediately. No, it's a gradual process, and this process can happen only with love. Parallelly, we have to keep giving them prasadam, And very important thing is avoid any confrontation. Don't be very heavy on somebody who's not a devotee. You can win over anybody through love. And the second thing, as I said, if you make nice prasadam and give it to them, they will leave this desire of eating onion, garlic, or eating non-veg. It's very popularly said, if you want to reach a person's heart, you have to reach through his stomach. So if you provide that person very nice prasadam, offered to Krishna, prasadam which is offered, bhoga which is offered to Krishna, and the prasadam is offered to that person, it will take some time, but you will be able to change that person. And we've seen this practically. Srila Prabhupada in his early days of ISKCON, when he went to America, the Sally who was there, Sally would actually smoke, and she was involved there in cutting vegetables. So Srila Prabhupada would say, okay, you come and help me. So he was engaging her in the service of cutting vegetables, and she was a smoker. So she would say, Swamiji, I can't stay without smoking. So she would step out every 15-20 minutes while doing her service of cutting the vegetable. But then Srila Prabhupada said, okay. And when she would come back, would say, at least clean your hands because you've spoken, clean your mouth because you've had the smoke. So that way we have to slowly give them that love. If we give them that love, all that they have in their previous lifetime or whatever they have learned in that same lifetime will slowly go away. It is perseverance, love, which can only make the spouse a devotee. Yes, we found it a practical difficulty in our own lives. We've had children of devotees who are not devotees, but we have to slowly make them. So it is perseverance and love. This is what I would sum it up. And no confrontation, which is very, very important. You can't be heavy. You have to chant 16 rounds. Otherwise, I'll not give you prasadam. Or you can't be heavy on your child saying that if you don't chant 16 rounds, I'll not give you your pocket money. No. Please show them the positive side of Krishna Bhakti. Please, with your own example, I'm not saying it to you, Mataji. I'm saying for all of us it is. We have to show it with our positive example, saying that how much of happiness we've got by practicing Krishna consciousness. How much of transformation that has happened in each one of our life by practicing Krishna consciousness and following the four regulative principles and chanting and reading only, reading Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and eating only prasadam. So that transformation is to be seen. So you lead by example. When you lead by example, people will follow us, is what is my submission, Mataji. Yes, I hope that answers your question.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. It's
really
challenging, Prabhu, to convince all these people. Yeah, but
it is difficult, Mataji, but then this is the perseverance that we have to continue. At the same time, pray to Guru and Krishna saying that I'm trying this. I am not qualified to do so, but with your mercy and with your blessings, I will be able to do it. With my own endeavor, I have no qualities that I can change anybody.
Yes, Prabhu. Right. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Thank you for asking the questions. So we're running short of time. I think we've completed our scheduled time. If there's any last question, I can take that. Otherwise, we will end the discussion for this morning, Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you very much for joining us. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.